All right.
All right.
That took me a little while, but here we are. So welcome, Maria Rekrut. And we're very happy that you're joining us tonight. My name is Nelda Schulte, and this is
Gil Donkersgoed.
And you're kind of in the dark, sweetie. Maybe you want to move a little farther forward. Can you see your face? There you go. Oh, now it's better.
Hang on for 1 second and we'll see if maybe.
And while Gil's adjusting the lights, I'm going to tell you that my online business is neldaschulte.com, and it's dedicated to helping property investors and landlords in building a profitable real estate business. And part of being an investor is choosing the right property. And Maria's going to talk to us a little bit about that with her expertise in short-term rentals. And then the other part of being a profitable real estate investor is what you do with the property and the tenants once you have the business. And I can help with that too. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Luckily, I've got articles, courses, and videos that help you avoid making some of the expensive mistakes I've made. And they're all the resources are on my website, www.neldaschulte.com. And tonight's topic is short-term investments. And we're joined today by the illustrious Maria Rekrut. And if I was going to give her a proper introduction, it would take our whole hour. Maybe I wouldn't even get through the whole hour. Maria is a best-selling author. She's the owner of Real Estate Media, News, Radio, and TV Network. She is the president of Real Estate Investment Group. She is the founder and president of the Canadian Real Estate Investors Association. And what I really like about Maria is she's got a bachelor and a master's degree in voice performance and music education, and she's a soprano. All three of those things are the same as me. I have a bachelor and a master's degree in voice performance and music education. Oh. I'm also a soprano. So here we are, a couple of sopranos in real estate on.
I know, isn't that odd? That's really odd. I've never met anyone, especially coloratura, because that's what I was doing was coloratura. And then I went into lyrica, lyrica soprano. But yeah, fantastic. I mean, when you said that, you thought, I can't believe that. Wonderful, Nelda. Wonderful.
So really excellent that you're here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about why you chose short-term rentals as an investment?
Well, it's interesting because when I've studied in Europe, I studied music in Europe, and there I studied in Italy and I studied in Spain. And I remember seeing the pensione, and the pensione is like a little hotel run by a couple people. And I used to look at that and think, I'd love to have that kind of business. Don't ask me why. And when I returned to Canada, I had a business in New York City. Then I returned to Canada in the Niagara-on-the-Lake region area, Niagara Falls, in 1986. And I thought, you know what, I'd like to own a bed and breakfast and cottage rental. So that happened actually in 2000. So I purchased my first house in 1988. And then I had the first, second, third mortgage. Then I put some money down myself. I got rid of the second mortgage, just had one mortgage. I refinanced and went and purchased a bed and breakfast and then a cottage rental. So my dream came to fruition, because I thought that was a very nice way of earning income. And so from there, I went on into student rentals, rent-to-owns, multiplexes, and student rentals. I did everything. I even gave mortgages. So I've done everything. I would say for my personality, short-term rentals worked very well. I can't say that now as much. It's been 21 years and I'm a little tired of all of it. But I would say that I chose that because I could control the people who were coming into my home. And it was a dream that I had. So I realized my dream. That's why I did it.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Yeah. So tell me what the pros of short-term rentals are.
Oh, the pros are that the person stays there for 1 or 2 days. You don't have to deal with any type of landlord or tenant board or the Residential Tenancy Act. People are coming there for fun, to have fun. You can make the same amount of money, when.
Oh, you did, Maria.
Hold on for 1 second.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
I don't know, I was muted. But that's all right.
That was me.
That's what I liked about it, is that the people who were coming appreciated what you were doing, enjoy staying there. They weren't on the property for very long, and you made a good amount of money. That's the pros to it, and I enjoyed meeting the people. The cons to that is there's a lot more work. You have to furnish your properties very well. You have to get interior designers to come in, get a better quality of property, but it was well worth it. I did it for 19 years because when the coronavirus hit, I just stopped doing the short-term rentals. I wasn't going to take my life in my hands by having, guests coming into my home. These are strangers. So I stopped for 2 years. Both of my bed and breakfast, my cottage rental, I stopped it. I continue with my long-term rentals. And I'm thinking of starting up my short-term rental next year again, if I feel comfortable with the way the coronavirus is going, right? That really depends on it, because you're in very close proximity to the people, you're breathing the same air. And I just, as a senior, I didn't feel confident or comfortable taking a chance with my life, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, that's probably a wise decision. Like you said, if you don't have your health.
Yes, you have nothing, right? Yeah.
But nothing if you don't have your health.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So with short-term rentals, do you recommend getting someone else to manage it for you, or would you do it yourself?
Oh, I did all myself. I did the whole thing myself. No, because you're going to have to pay maybe 30% to someone else. Plus, on top of that, expenses, right? So how much profit are you going to make? I mean, I know people think you make a lot of profit with short-term rentals. You don't. I remember when I first started, let's say 21 years ago, just to keep the numbers, flowing here. I went and sat down with the president of the Niagara Lake Bed and Breakfast Association and asked him, how much money could I be making? What do I have to do? And he said, look, he says, if you make enough money in a season to cover your expenses, that could include your mortgage payments, it could include all your expenses, and you make $5,000 profit on top of that, he says you've had a good year.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's
That's
people
a lot for $5,000.
Yes. Well, yeah. But I mean, it's paying for itself, right? I mean, you're paying for your property, the mortgage, everything else. But that's what he said. He was right about that. I mean, some years were better than others. And I must say, years ago, you made a lot more money than that in profit. Depends on how much you paid for the property. The secret is, how much mortgage are you carrying? What are your expenses? How much can you charge for, your suites? And then you'll see the profit at the end of it. So a lot of people do it. They enjoy it. A lot of people get into it that aren't even in business. They just thought it was something really sexy that you could meet people. They come to your home, you serve them breakfast and all that, but they don't see all the work that goes behind it. And there's a lot of work going behind it. And you have to learn to market. You have to learn to put yourself on all the listing sites. You have to learn how to handle a calendar. Like, it's a lot of parts, the moving parts to a short-term rental. You can't flip-flop between the two. You can flip-flop between the two if you have other kinds of properties, because I've always done long and short-term rentals, but you have to learn a new set of skills for the short-term rentals, just like you have to learn a new set of skills for the long-term rentals.
Right, yeah. We've done both, actually. We've had we've done short-term rentals in our Calgary property, and we've done long-term rentals in our Calgary property. And what I found was that with the short-term rentals, you have to have a really good team. You've got to have cleaners that come in right away that you can email, or that they're notified immediately when somebody comes in, who are going to do a good job. You need to have people come in if something happens and doesn't work, like the sink doesn't work or the toilet doesn't flush. Like, you have to have a really good team, and they have to be very well organized. And then there's 5 stars hotel staff.
Oh, yes.
We would put chocolates in their suite, and we had, little packages to make it all very, very much like a fancy, Airbnb.
Yeah.
And that all takes work to kind of put all that together.
Yeah, and what I found, and it's interesting, because now, once upon a time when people, and I'm talking about the ones here in the Niagara Lake, because they've been a center for bed and breakfast and cottage rentals for many, many years, before many other parts of Canada were doing it, right?
Mhm.
And when I started out, many of them were hiring housekeepers to do the work for them, but now they're doing it themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's very costly. It gets more and more expensive to do it, and they're learning how to handle it themselves. So I used to send out my sheets to have someone do it for me, but I learned very quickly that I could do everything myself, and I did. So I had my little team there, but I was doing most of the cleaning, and I had another team member that was doing the cleaning when I didn't want to do it, and then someone to mow the lawn, and then I would go in and check on everything. But I did a self-serve. I didn't serve breakfast. After about the first 3 years, I thought this wasn't working for me, the type of business model I wanted. So it was self-serve, and that's all I've done ever since, is self-serve. So I don't have to meet the people. They can just help themselves. We just make sure everything's there and is done. So I really catered my business to my personality and my time schedule,
Yeah.
right?
You know what, I think that's a very wise thing that you said right now, and it's a gem, because I think that's all real estate. You have to cater your business to what's
Yeah,
and your schedule and what you're willing to do.
exactly.
You said you did student rentals as well?
Oh yeah, I've done all kinds of rentals, rent to own, student rentals. I love my student rentals. They were fun. I made tons of money. When they had the double cohort in the 2000 double cohort, I mean, I made tons of money with my student rentals, and I had all my paperwork in place, and I met with the parents, like I had all my paperwork in place, so I didn't have any destruction in my homes at all. They were always paying on time. Like, it just went very, very well. But more and more people got into the business, very similar to what's going on with the short-term rentals. Now everyone is a short-term rental. When I spoke about short-term rentals a number of years ago, I was interviewed by Gary Hebert. He didn't even know what short-term rentals were. Now everybody knows, right? So it's become a fad now, right? And so everyone's in it now. But what's happening now is the municipalities and the states and the provinces are cutting back into it and saying, no, you can't do this anymore, right? We want to control you. You have to make sure that we can come and check that you're doing a good job. I've always been licensed, because in Niagara Lake you had to be licensed, but in other cities you didn't have to be licensed. So I don't know if in Calgary if you had to be licensed or not, Nelda.
No, well,
So licensing,
for
so tell me
Airbnb,
about that,
well,
actually.
Airbnb, no, you didn't. But when we did it, I don't know if it's changed since then. I haven't done it in a few years. But
Well, no, this has nothing to do with the listing sites. Airbnb is just a listing site. I mean, the town itself says you have to meet certain criteria in order to get a license to be able to open up your bed and breakfast or your cottage rental. So what happens is you get I got the bylaw officer coming, and I got the fire department coming in, and they used to even send the health inspection. They don't do that anymore, but they come and they check before they even issue a license, and you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks. So they're making that tougher and tougher all the time for all of us, changing things up all the time. So that's the other thing too, is whenever, again, the municipality or the province sees that people are making money, they don't want that to happen necessarily. I'm sorry, I'm going to be quite honest about what I'm seeing that's going on in business, and they'll kibosh it, right? They'll say, no, you can't do this anymore. You have to have parking. You have to have certain types of parking. You have to, have all the things in order. If you can't, then you don't get the business, right?
So here in Calgary, they do have some legislation around that. So you'd have to have an exit window that you can climb out of. You'd have to have parking. You'd have to have
yes,
smoke detectors, all the things. So
oh, that's normal. That's normal. But they actually came with a tape measure to check about the parking. They came with tape measures to make sure, and we had to even draw a drawing of the whole property and see where the parking is and everything like that. They made it tougher and tougher all the time.
Yeah, they do that. Everybody wants their fingers in the pie when
they do. Yeah, exactly, Nelda.
Yeah, that's
sure.
We found that to be the case. So what are the due diligence steps that you take before buying a single, or I was going to say STR?
Short-term rental? Well, what would I
Yeah.
suggest to anyone? For phone up the municipality and find out if you're even allowed to do that. That's
Right.
the first thing I would do, is don't go and buy something, think you can open it up. No, you go and check to, first of all, to find out if it's even allowed. And I remember when I was purchasing a property in another city, I phoned up City Hall and spoke to them and said, okay, are we allowed to run bed and breakfast? And she says, yeah, you are, no problem. We don't have any stipulations about that. But in the meantime, the city has come in and said, no, you've got to get licensing, and you have to get everything else. So even if they say no, there isn't, they're going to come sooner or later with it. Yeah. And so you've got to be aware that things can change. And when I go in and purchase a property, I know 3 or 4 things I can do with it going in, and 3 or 4 things I can do with it going out. So I'm always evolving. Like, I'm evolving my business every 6 months. And like, I remember my real estate agent saying, Maria, you can shift on a dime the way you're going to do what you're going to do with your property. I said, yeah, you have to. I mean, I can't, you have to be able to shift and see, like, when many people got into the student rentals, I got out of the student rentals because people didn't want to stay there and pay for 12 months anymore. They just wanted to pay for 8 months. So here you have 4 months, you have to carry the mortgage. So when I saw that happening, I thought, I'm out of the student market. So this is what I do, is I kind of go along and see, okay, now the short-term rentals, they may not be as profitable as they used to be. Just like the student rentals may not be as profitable. So I just move on to the next big thing that's coming, right? So I'm always looking for that. And I just shift around. I just keep doing it. I've been doing it for 21 years. Just keep changing, evolving. Just like you have, Nelda.
Well, yeah, you have to. So, I mean,
Yes.
when I think back to when I bought my first property in Fort McMurray, room rentals were all the rage.
Yeah.
So you could charge pretty much anything you wanted for a room rental. You could rent a tent in your backyard. You could rent a crawl space in your garage, and people would pay for really anything. And people would pay for it because there was such a housing shortage.
Yeah.
And you posted an ad
Mhm.
in Fort McMurray Times on Wednesday. That's what. And so then people would start calling a couple days later, and then you had your choice of who you wanted. And I still had them sign a kind of a lease, something.
Sure,
lease
an agreement, right? Rental agreement.
Yeah.
Agreement,
And then everything started shifting. I had a suite downstairs as well. And then everything started shifting, and people didn't want to do room rentals anymore. So then I kept renting out the whole suite.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
and I rented out the whole house.
Yeah.
And then with this house, we had a long-term tenant, and then he left, and we were having trouble finding a long-term tenant. We shifted to Airbnb, and then we got out of that, and then we went
Yeah.
back to long-term tenants again. So
Sure.
depending on what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah, just like me, exactly the same thing. And that's what I love about real estate. You can shift, right? You can change it. It's your own property, and you can just shift it and just change around. If this isn't profitable anymore, you go to something else. Yeah. So when I saw that everybody's getting into the short-term rental now, I went back to long-term rentals. Nobody was doing it. But I listen to this. When I started in 2000, purchasing properties, long-term properties in my bed and breakfast, all my properties were, I was able to charge more money because I had them completely furnished, and nobody was doing that then. I had my houses were completely furnished from top to bottom, even pots and pans at times, right? So nobody was doing that. So I was able to charge more money because of that, right? So I still do that. I still keep them all furnished, and I really cater to people who are coming in from another country that don't have even sheets, pillowcase, or whatever else, and I supply everything. So I can charge more money because of that.
Yeah,
and I wait for the right person to come.
That's very smart, because you know your demographics for that area, you know the population, you know who's coming in. And I think that's an important thing to kind of think about too, is when you're doing a rental, who's your market, who's
Exactly. Yeah. Who's your target market, right?
Yeah, and what are they going to be? Are they going to be long-term? Are they going to be transient? Fort McMurray is still pretty transient. People turn around very quickly because the jobs are shifting and the economy is always shifting. Calgary and Edmonton seem to be much longer-term rentals. People stay for years. We don't have all the turnover, but there again, that's the population. People.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. What was your biggest expense for a short-term rental?
Oh, the furnishings. The furnishings, the bedding, is I got the best bedding, Egyptian cotton. You know? 100%, 100% Egyptian cotton. That so the bedding, the furnishings, that's your biggest expense. And then you get a bigger house, a nicer house, of course, right? So your mortgage is higher. So it's all that all put together. You've got to put that all together and think about that. So yeah, I would say, the details that you put into your short-term rentals, it's more costly. It's more costly.
So that's an interesting thought, because there are those who would say cheap out on the furniture and the bedding and all the other stuff in order to
Yeah.
reduce your cost going in.
Yeah, no, I didn't. And it's interesting. What I did was actually when I purchased the bed and breakfast in 2000, I made a deal that I kept all the furniture that they had. I kept the name, the phone number, all the furniture, the bedding. Now, what happened was for me at that time, I was just starting out, so I was happy with what they gave me, but I evolved after that. I fixed it up really nice. They didn't have Egyptian cotton sheets. I went into that. I, went into HomeSense and purchased the highest end, or IKEA. IKEA has some really good bedding, not futons. Can't think of it right now. The word doesn't come to me, but they have some wonderful things that last a long time. So I always had Turkish towels, because they wear like steel. Just like Egyptian cotton, they wear like steel. You can bleach them. You can do anything with them, and they come out and they continue. Like I've got sheets that I bought maybe 20 years ago, Egyptian cotton, that are still perfect. So it pays at the beginning to spend your money. And again, the furniture, I've switched it around too. I've added extra beds, brand new mattresses, changed from maybe double bed to queen or king or whatever else. I'm always changing things around. And then I hired an interior designer to come into both of my properties to help me out with that. So yeah, no, that I would say is I did that, and I always bought really good furniture because it would last forever. Like there's furniture in there for 20 years, 30
Wow.
years. Yeah, if you get the classics, and they're strong, no one's going to break them.
Now you made it the high end. You envisioned a very kind of high end.
My vision, and you had to in Niagara-on-the-Lake. It had to be, because Niagara-on-the-Lake is high end. So you have to go with it because you're in competition with other people, Yeah.
Great.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Are you comfortable at all talking about how you financed your properties, how you bought them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what I did, the first one that I purchased, I borrowed the first mortgage at 13% from a credit union. I got the second mortgage at the credit union. So 11% first, 13% second, then I borrowed a third, and then I put in $5,000 of mine. That was my first property I bought in 1988. That was the first property. And by 2000, I had paid off the third and the second mortgage. I just had the first mortgage. And then I wanted to purchase my bed and breakfast. So I wondered how I could do it. And what I did was I refinanced my cottage rental, and I pulled out a lot of equity. So I was able to get a mortgage. And then I put down about 30,000 of my own as a second mortgage, as a down payment, right? And the rest was what I was making all the time. And I had more money in the bank. So then I used that, got first mortgages, and put my money towards the second mortgage, or I borrowed second mortgages from private people. So that's how I've been doing. And then I refinance every so many years, pull out the equity of it. And just now I keep it in the bank and live off of it. And then if I want to purchase another property, the money's there, but I always borrow the money. I don't pay off my mortgages, and I borrow as much as I can. If I can borrow 80%, I'll borrow 80%. I don't really care, So that's how I do it. And my best partner has been my mortgage broker, because he's the one that's found these people for me. And I've had the same mortgage broker for 21 years.
Oh, that's great.
So refinancing is the best way of doing it, right? Because you're building equity.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very good.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what the most common oversights to newbies are who get into STRs.
Oh, short-term rentals? Oh,
Yeah.
they think they're going to make their millions. They think it's going to be really easy catering to the people. They don't realize how much work, the behind the scenes work there is before a person even comes to your home. Like you have to follow up. First of all, you have to answer their questions. It's a little bit easier now with the listing sites. When I started, there were no listing sites. We had our own website and people came through our website. So just because somebody was interested didn't mean they were going to rent from you. So you had to go back and forth with emails and they're trying to make deals and all of that, which was such a waste of time. So I was quite happy when I was about 14 years ago, when I was approached by Airbnb and I was approached by Booking.com and Expedia. They wanted us to go on their listing site. So I did. But it was a lot of work putting it on there because we have to put all that work like TripAdvisor, any of the sites, we have to do all that work at getting it on there and changing prices. And then you get, now we got channel managers, which helps a lot. And it's a learning curve, the whole thing, even with Airbnb, it's a learning curve, you know that. You have to upload your photographs, you have to figure out your description. Like it's a lot of work and people don't realize this. They think they just put it on there and people come. Well, no, there's a lot more work to it than that. That's the beginning. And then what happens at the end of it is you have to cater to the people, then they start complaining, then you have to watch out for what they say about you and you have to always be on top of it. So it's a lot of work. The whole thing is a lot of work.
Yeah, whenever you're dealing with people, it's a lot of work.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, best advice for advertising for short-term rentals?
Oh, just go on the listing sites. I mean, you have your own website. Like I had my own website built in 2000. I actually had a website built for both of my properties by a web designer. Nobody even had websites at that time, right? And then now just go on the listing sites, have your own website, and then go on the listing sites and just put them on there. It's much easier now than it was. Much, much easier. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Oh, yes. People always think of short-term rentals as vacation rentals. What are other reasons that people would want to rent for short-term rentals?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh, sorry. I said people always think of short-term rentals as just vacation rentals like Airbnb, like you're coming to a city for a vacation.
Yes.
Are there other reasons why people rent short-term rentals?
Oh, for sure. If they're new in the country, and they just want to try out the city like for a month or two. Professionals, I used to have professional coming, like maybe doctors. I've had doctors come, nurses, business people. They may have a job down here, but their home is in Toronto or elsewhere. So they come here and stay during the week, go back home on the weekends. Like I've had all kinds of people coming, like for all different reasons, right? Newcomers, new immigrants. And I actually, years ago, you wouldn't believe this, I had people coming and staying at my bed and breakfast who were actually came here to give birth to their children.
Oh, wow.
So that they would have the Canadian citizenship. That was going on quite a bit years ago. Nothing has happened since then. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's something I hadn't really thought about. Hospitals, sporting events, concerts, so that I expected.
Yeah.
And those we kind of dealt with before. When there were fires here throughout Alberta, we had insurance people who were coming in looking for cheap places to stay because they were staying long-term.
Yes.
They didn't want to rent an apartment or a condo or anything. They wanted obviously to spend less money.
Yes.
So they used to rent Airbnbs as well. And then surgeries, we had people for surgeries as well.
Okay. Didn't get that. Never had that. Fires, never had that either. And I always say I charge more for less time you stay, I charge more. It's not the other way around. They don't seem to understand that, right?
No.
So yeah, no, I haven't had that.
I had a stonemason company rent out my property in Fort Mac, and initially he only wanted to rent it out for 3 months. And I thought, I really didn't want a whole bunch of guys renting out my whole house for 3 months when I live in Calgary and they live somewhere else.
Excellent.
So,
I had years of property that I actually had a corporation come in and rent. I'm sorry, Nelda?
we're getting feedback. I'm not sure what happened here. Something froze.
Yeah, it did freeze. I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, no, I said a stonemason company wanted to rent my property for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I charged them way more than if I would have just had a long-term tenant, because I said it's going to be a lot more wear and tear.
For sure.
I also including cleaning lady in on this, and he said, the
Yeah.
guys will clean family men. I said, family men have their wives clean up.
Yeah, that's right.
Their wives, maybe I believe you, but he says, oh, they'll mow the lawn. I said, okay, they work 10, 12 hours a day. Are they going to want to mow the lawn?
Oh,
Vacuum,
no.
do a little dusting on their
no.
off? I said, I don't think so. So I said, you're gonna need a cleaning lady, and I'll take care of the yard maintenance. You cover the
Yeah.
cost of it. And you cover cost of a great big cleanup
Mhm.
where they we move a new tenant in. So he agreed to all of that, and
That's
you know,
good.
he paid full price, but they actually couldn't find anything else to stay
Oh,
in.
sure. That's usually what it is, right? And then you know what? If they squabble too much, I said just go to a hotel. You know, like why are you coming to me? Go to a hotel. You think I charge too much? Go to a hotel. You'll find out there, right? You know, like no, you know, like people don't understand, and that's part of the problem is the education, right? They think because you know it's it's a bed and breakfast that it should be cheaper, or a cottage rental should be cheaper. No, I'm sorry, it costs more because the cleanup, now even with the coronavirus, hey, we have to pay somebody to clean. I mean, that wasn't a joke. That's why I stopped doing it 2 years ago, Nelda, because we had so many cleaning protocols that were dictated to us, not only by the province, but also by our town. So I thought, I'm not going to do this, you know, my time is more valuable. So I took the summer off and I loved it. And this was my second summer I took off and I loved it even more, you know.
Twice as
So
much as the first time around.
yeah. I loved it too much.
Did you have a profile for your short-term rental tenants? Did you have somebody in mind that you wanted to rent to, or did that sort of evolve over time?
Oh, you mean for short-term rentals like vacationers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for my cottage rental, usually was friends, or friends from different parts of the country or the different parts of the world coming, or families with children. This was 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. You could pull out the couch, so you could have 6 people there, right? So that was my cottage rental, and then maybe 2 couples that came down for the weekend. They wanted to go to the winery or the theater, whatever else, right? The bed and breakfast usually were people that love to go cycling. So they would go cycling, then they would go to the theater, then they would go to the winery, then they would go to the music festival, then they go to Niagara Falls. So they were out more than they were in, right? So that's usually, one was couples, the other one was more family oriented, or 2 couples together, where, you know, we could have 2 couples, but they'd have each their own separate suites, and they would pay extra, right? So there'd be 2 suites rented out where they would have the whole cottage, and then the price would go up exponentially. If you had more people, you had to pay more money, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how it worked out for us.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
So I'm kind of thinking back. We went to Vegas a couple of years ago, and we stayed in. We decided to do some driving around, and we ended up going to Sedona, and we stayed at an Airbnb there, and it looked nice from the outside. As it turned out, it was a trailer in a trailer park.
My.
Okay, it was fine.
Yeah.
But she had a million rules for everything. Like, she sent me this like list of pages of all these rules about don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. Do you agree to not do this? And then when we got there, there was like this litany of signage about where you could park, how you could park. And then inside was crazy. Like, they actually had an hourglass inside of the shower, and it said, taking too long in the shower, flip it over. That's the amount of time that you should take in the shower. Don't open this door, don't touch that one. I mean, it was absolutely hilarious.
It was kind of sad, yes.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have rules, no smoking, right? No smoking. But
Well, that's a
that,
fair rule.
well, yeah, that's a fair rule, right? No smoking, no drugs, no nothing like that. But people were still sneaking in the marijuana, and they shouldn't have. But that only came from people from certain websites, not all of them. Like, it's kind of interesting. And the people have changed over the years. When I started out 21 years ago, they were all baby boomers, and they really respected the home, respected, you know, where they were and all of that. And now with Airbnb, the clientele is completely different. Completely different. The clientele from Airbnb is completely different than booking.com, which is completely different than Expedia. And I used to have clients coming from VRBO when it was called VRBO. I don't know what it's called now, bedandbreakfast.com. Like those are separate websites that I used to upload all my information. That's where people came. And then I would collect the money myself. I mean, people would send checks. That's when they were sending checks and things like that. So it's really changed over the years. In some aspects with Airbnb, I'm sorry, with Airbnb, I enjoyed the fact that they collected the money and would send it to me. I enjoyed that. I didn't have to worry about that part of it. I just have to worry about the customer service part of it and providing what they wanted, right? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
That's fine. I was interrupting you. We had a couple of kids who wanted to rent one of our higher end properties, probably in the neighborhood of 6,000 a month, I would say.
Okay.
But these kids had no jobs.
Yeah.
Income. It was done through Airbnb, but we've always made a point of, even if it's Airbnb, we'll still vet the people.
Yes.
And we did turn them down because we just didn't see how they could possibly make the
Afford.
payments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, I vet everyone, whatever site they're on before I accept them. I don't do instant book at all. I mean, you have to do it with booking.com, but that was a different type of clientele. Those were travelers, international travelers from Europe or the United States that had been traveling. So you wouldn't have had that kind of problem. But Airbnb, there's no way. I never took young people at all. I didn't care what they said or what they did. I wouldn't, and I would ask why they were coming, what they were coming down for. I still do. I mean, I do that with long-term tenants too. I mean, do it with everyone, right? There's really not that much difference between long and short anymore, because what's happening, and I noticed this about 5 years ago, and I wrote about it actually, is that more and more of the professional tenants are going to be using Airbnb to get into your properties, and then they can sit there and not have to move, and you can't get them out if they stay longer than 28 days.
Oh, no.
So there's a lot of games going on, right? And this is why I'm even more vigilant than ever. And I tell everyone else, there's too many bad stories out there, Nelda, of people that have squatters and they came through Airbnb. They become squatters. So you don't want any of that happening, right? So you have to be vigilant again.
It's one of the benefits of being in Alberta, because here, at least, there are some rules that benefit the landlord as opposed to Ontario, BC,
Yes.
where
Yes.
basically, if you're a landlord, you're screwed as soon as someone goes
Yeah.
after you.
You're very lucky. You're very lucky. My father, like I'm a Winnipegger, I'm a Westerner, just like you guys are, I guess. And I remember my father had rooming houses and he just threw them out. He had no problem. I was Winnipeg then. I don't know if they do it now anymore, but certainly in that time, he just picked them up out. You don't pay out the door, right? You can't do that. So that's why you have to not let them in the door, until you know who they are, right?
Exactly. We were actually told that it was easier, what was it, to get into the army than to get into one of our properties.
Yeah, just like me, they have to walk over coals before they get into my properties.
Excellent.
But when they get in, Nelda, they're good people and they stay there forever and they behave themselves. They're great people, right? But until you get through my threshold, you have to jump through coals. Like I say, I just laugh about it because I have to. It's 21 years. I don't want any type of disasters,
No one needs that, especially not at the end of the.
No, not at the end of my career.
Or at the beginning, for that matter.
Yeah, at any time, actually, at any time, right?
No.
And if you get good people, they really, like, they not only pay for your property, but they're good people to know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And they stay for years. I have people that
You're doing
stay.
something good for humanity.
Yes, absolutely. It's a synergy between two people, right? You have something to offer. They want to take part of this. So if it works out between the two of you, understand each other. And like I say, you have to have an avatar of who is your best customer, whether that's long or short-term rentals. And that's who you cater to, right? You have to know who you're catering to.
So Amy had a question just now,
Mhm.
and actually it's a good question.
Great.
Any tips or strategies on vetting renters? What questions do you ask, or what information are you looking for? short-term and long-term rentals. And actually, we could probably spend an entire evening.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing fast about that. You know, Amy can go and look on my Facebook pages or even on my website, realwealthrealestate.com, and you can read there what I write about. It takes too long. I mean, there's no way in 5 minutes can I suggest. You know, the best thing to do is listen to them and say, why are you leaving the place you're in? First of all, that's what I ask.
That's
Why are
really
you
good, and that's
leaving?
one of the questions we ask.
Yeah.
And the other question, the other thing that Nelda is really good at, I'm not as good at this as she is silence. You ask a question and
Yeah.
you wait for the answer, and
Yeah.
you make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to start talking, and
Yeah.
they're going to start saying things that
Oh, yeah.
maybe you want to
Well,
say.
yeah, I mean, I just ask them questions. Like, I don't spend more than 10 minutes with people on the phone, and I know if they're going to be good or not. And they don't come, they will never come through my threshold until I know that's a person that might work out. I just don't let people come through my properties anymore, not with the COVID and everything, right? It's unnecessary. So, you know, 10 minutes is all I need to ask the questions I need answers with, and I listen to how they answer it, right? How they answer and how they comport themselves, if they're polite or not. And that's very important. Politeness and respect is very, very important in my home
Yeah.
and the way I do business. And that's what I expect from them, is it goes back and forth. Yeah.
It's effectively, it's like a job interview where they're,
It is a job interview for sure. For sure.
yeah.
And
And so,
they're your employees.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so if they're not giving you the respect that a person would expect from the initial contact, then
Yeah.
you
Forget about it. They don't even get past that. Yeah.
No.
You can't bully yourself into my homes.
No.
Try. You can't,
Although
Sorry,
but you can't even bully yourself on the phone because you never even get to the homes, you know? Like, if you're bullying from the beginning, I don't even know who you are. You don't even know who I am, right? So, yeah, no, there's different
It's
strategies.
the attitude. Yeah.
So Amy is asking for the website again, so can we just,
Real,
I just want to mention one thing. Maria has this on her Facebook page. I also have how to screen tenants, a 5-step tenant screening process on my website.
Yeah.
That you can also get. I can send it to you if you want to text me your email address. And you can also get that information if you join my membership site for free on my website. So I've got screening processes there. I've got videos on how to vet people, questions to ask and pre-screening, videos on that, articles on that, extensive information, as Maria has on her site as well. So you can go to my site, which is www.neldaschulte.com. I'll type it in, and then I'll type in Maria's too.
sure, Real Wealth, like realwealthrealestate.com. You can always touch base with me on Facebook. Let me know that you found me on Nelda's Zoom meeting. Happy to chat at any time.
You can fix it. Okay, sorry, I misspelled Real Wealth. It's realwealthrealestate.com.
Yeah, realwealthrealestate.com. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for that, and thank you for that question. And it's a very good question. You should always screen.
Yes.
Sometimes people will text me questions in private comments, and that's totally fine.
Yes.
On my Facebook site, and I say I'm happy to answer your question on condition that I can use that question in my Facebook, so that when I answer it, I usually answer it on a video. Of course, I take out the person's name and their location and stuff.
Sure.
And so that they can't be identified. But a frequent question that comes up is people have problems with their tenants, and they want to be able to collect on damages or whatever, but they don't have their place of employment, they don't have the driver's license number, they don't have
Can't do anything.
they don't have any information on them, and you have to have that information. I mean, it's hard enough to collect from people if there are damage, if you have information on them. If you don't have any information, you almost have to hire a private investigator. It's just going to cost you even more than it already has. So always do your screening. Great question. Do screen. Maria says screen.
Oh, yeah. And get all your paperwork. They never come into
totally.
the house until I've gotten all the paperwork from them that I want, all the identification I need if I have to track them down. And then I check with their past landlords, their employers. I call them myself. I don't care what they want to give me in the way of paperwork. It means nothing to me. I do it myself. And that's why it takes time, Nelda, right? That's why it takes time. That's why you don't just do it for anybody. Why would you do that, right?
So
So
as a general rule, like if someone gives us a landlord or sorry, an employer and gives us a phone number, we will not phone the number that they give us. We'll find the phone number
Sure.
of the
company,
and,
yeah.
and call them directly. And similarly, we've also busted people who gave false references.
Landlord. Yeah, that's the funniest, right? Easy to figure that one out pretty fast, right?
It is.
What's your favorite technique for busting fake landlord references?
Oh, okay. What I do is I ask them what the address of their rental is, you know, and but I haven't had that happen. I know it happened like 15 years ago. I haven't had that happen lately. And I can tell it's a landlord because we start talking shop. I mean, that's the neatest thing is when I talk to the landlord and then I'll say, why are these people leaving you, right? And, only a landlord would be able to answer it a certain way. And you can tell by the way they answer the phone and they comport themselves. So sometimes I end up talking to the landlord for an hour. We're swapping tricks, right? So, I mean, that's a landlord, And then the final question I ask them is, so if the people want to come back and live with you, would you want them to? I stop. And I
That's
let them
actually
answer
one of the questions we have as well.
Yeah, very important. Yeah.
We rented them again.
What I do too is I take my time in getting in touch with the landlords and the jobs, and I let the tenant wait. I have to see how far I can push, how much patience they have, because with me, they have to have patience. I don't rush through things. I'm a senior now. I don't have to jump all over the place. And I see if they have the patience. If they're losing their temper already before they even get in, guess what? They don't get in, right?
Yep.
So I do that all on purpose. I push the pain points on purpose. And I may ask the same question over and over and over again, and let's see what they say to me. So it's a very long process. It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
No.
Do you cover your legal basis with an LLC, a rental agreement that protects you from liability if someone gets injured on your property? Have you ever done those things for your short-term rentals?
No. You mean like I have insurance that covers it because I have commercial insurance.
Okay.
I only have commercial insurance on my properties. So that covers off on anything, even being sued. The insurance company takes care of it. And now it's $2 million liability. I'm sure that's going to go up because what's $2 million now, right, Nelda? But no, I only have commercial insurance. They know it's a bed and breakfast. They know it's a cottage rental, like it's all out there. So whatever I need, they will advise me as far as protecting myself. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions that people have that they want to ask now that I think I've asked all my questions?
Okay, that's great. Great questions, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
I
I can hear you.
Yeah, it's actually Mark. I'm using Amy's computer, but I just have a couple questions. Maria, you mentioned that you look for the paperwork before you screen a tenant, or use the paperwork to screen a tenant. Do you get the paperwork before you even show them the place for rent?
No. How
Okay.
it goes, how it goes is that I talk to them on the phone. I know within 10 minutes if it works or not. And then what I tell them is, you know what, you want to see, is it still, like I send them a video or a photo, what photos, website pages they can look at and see if they really like. Then I say, you call me back and let me know if you still want to go ahead with it. And so they call again and then we talk again and I get more information about them. And then I said, okay, well then, I guess they always want to see it today, right? Or tomorrow. I said, I'm sorry, we need 24 hours notice. Okay. So you call me back another day at this time, and then I'll schedule it. So if they don't call me back, I just spent 10 minutes with them on the phone. nothing is being lost, right? If they call me back, then again, I will call them and I will speak to them and screen them again. And then I'll say, okay, these are the dates that we're showing it. And please call me the day of, just to reconfirm that appointment. I
Yes.
said, because if you don't, no one's going to show up. No one's going to show you the place. So only the really responsible ones, the ones who are really, really interested, will do those steps. If they don't, they're gone and it doesn't really matter. So that's
Okay.
how I do it. Yeah, I take it step by step. So then, okay, they come and see the place. Okay, I'll take you to the next step. They come and see the place. They like it. They say, yes, I'd like to go ahead with it. I said, great. I said, okay, so this is what I need from you. All this paperwork I need from you. And then we will do all our credit checks on you. And then we will get a rental agreement or lease ready for you and send it out to you once we're satisfied with what we have found out. Once we send that agreement out, you need to pay us right away. And then we can move you in only when we have everything we want before you move in. If they don't have, if they haven't sent all the paperwork, they don't get in. I wait until they have sent everything, and it might take up to a month because it depends on how fast they do it, right? I have nothing to lose. I don't care if I lose a month without rent or they move in on the 2nd or 3rd or 4th. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me because they start paying on the 1st. Doesn't matter to me.
Always tell people right off the top, we're going to do credit checks. We're going to do landlord checks. We're going to
Very
do
in depth. Yeah.
because if they're, I'm not even going to show them the property if they're not prepared to jump through those hoops.
Exactly.
And yeah, we have had people who have pushed back, and the second they push back, we just say,
Right.
That's it. Yeah. Nice talking to you. Thank you very much. So we couldn't help you. I'm exactly the same. I don't waste my time, right? If I don't get what I want in the paperwork, and usually because they're really good people, by the time they've jumped through those hoops, they really want it.
exactly.
So they're going to move along with their paperwork, and the way I look at it is, who's in control? You're in control. It's your business.
Exactly.
It's your
Exactly.
property. I think many landlords don't remember you're in control until they get through the door. You're in full control. Once they get through the door, then you have to cater, But if you've got good people, you won't have any problems. Like I haven't had any problems through the whole COVID time and now, and like I haven't had to go to the landlord and tenant board for over 12 years now, because
Okay.
I really specialize and I prefer for it to be empty. Empty is better than having a bad person in there.
Totally.
No, stays
Absolutely.
empty. Can stay empty for a year. I don't really care.
Right.
It doesn't matter
The
to
money
me.
you lose in a bad tenancy is
Yeah,
far
yeah.
greater than the money you lose.
Now, can I ask this question? Has your mentality changed over the years on that? Now that you've got much more experience and
Oh, yeah.
probably better cash flow than you did 20 years ago, kind of
Oh,
thing?
absolutely.
Or-
I started 21 years ago. Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I made lots of mistakes. Don't think I'm only talking now from experience because I've learned the mistakes I made, right? Where I wouldn't get all the paperwork signed before people moved in. I wouldn't take all the money. Well, I would never do that now, right? But I did it. Yeah, I learned through mistakes. I mean, we all
Right.
do, right? Like I say, a landlord isn't born, a landlord becomes a landlord. Seared in steel, right? Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And you want to learn from the mistakes other people make. That's what
Oh, absolutely. You don't want to have to make them yourself all the time.
I mean, I've
Right.
made my mistakes, and goodness knows, the stress levels were just overwhelming.
Mine were like this. Don't want them anymore.
Mark, did I answer all your questions, or do you have more questions?
Yeah, and the other one I had, I apologize, I was late.
That's okay.
And you probably spoke to this already, but regarding the short-term rentals, is it just Airbnb, VRBO, cottage rent? Like what's your
Oh, there's
strategy
many.
around the short term? Pardon me?
There's many. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to TripAdvisor if you want. You can go booking.com, Expedia.com. Well, there's many others, but I wouldn't suggest you join any of them if you have to pay a membership fee, which is what we used to do years ago, because that's all they had. Now they take a portion of the profits, right? So that's what you want to do, that because people can promise you the world and not deliver anything. At least when they come through Airbnb, they're collecting the money. and, you can keep everything on site, that, you have help. Because, I mean, if you're doing it on your own, you don't have any type of help. I mean, after a while, you're going to be so good at this, you won't need anybody's help, right? Because you know what you're doing. But at the very beginning, do use the listing sites and build a really good website. Really good website.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I've heard some people use the short-term rentals and attract medical people or professionals or
Yep.
something like that. Do you have an idea of how they go about that?
I think you would, if you wanted to, I haven't done this myself. I think if you get in touch with the hospitals, and there might be some new doctors coming in. I think I may have tried that a number of years ago, but I really didn't get much response from that. So people kind of find me, go on Zumper. Zumper's a website. Facebook Marketplace is pretty good. And Kijiji. Now, I don't know if you have anything else to add, Nelda. Like, I don't know if you have others. And also Airbnb. Like, if you're on Airbnb, whether you do long or short, you just fix up your calendar, then you'll find professionals coming through Airbnb. I had some really nice professionals coming through Airbnb that stayed for maybe 3 or 4 months. They were great people.
We have tried hospitals, but the other thing that you could try, and we haven't been that successful with, but universities.
Yeah, they have
Yes.
their own websites.
Facilities, yeah. Yes, you can, because I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, the universities have the websites where landlords can go and post their properties. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I used to, when I lived in Fort McMurray, I used to call the HR department at Keano College,
Mhm.
and I'd say, would it be okay if I sent you my postings? And if you have anyone coming into town and needs a place to live, because they were always, nobody who worked there was from there. And
Yeah.
people were always looking for a place to live or renting a room until they either decided to rent an apartment or whatever. And that worked really well for a few years.
Mhm.
We actually had some success with the university thing here, except that the owner of the property decided to renovate the property just as we were about to rent it, which is one of the reasons we got a property management.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to bring that up about self-managing, because I've hired property managers. I haven't had good success. I was a property manager. We had a property management business, and we did a very good job. We were one of the few, but I mean, it was kind of 24/7 for us.
It is.
Which how I got out of it.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
have much better success self-managing.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I charge higher rates self-managing than when I hired a property manager.
Yeah.
I was never sure that anything got done. If I needed repairs, or if they were just charging me and it wasn't actually done, or how rundown was actually turning into, until I took it over myself, and then I brought it back up to speed again.
So, yeah,
Gil he has a property manager that he uses in
Victoria,
BC.
because
Okay.
quite
The distance, right? For sure.
And it works well for him.
and
it's-
it's BC, which
yeah.
is stupidly successful.
But in Alberta, it's never really worked well for me. I've had 4 different property managers, and I can't say I've been impressed with any of them.
The
I
same
would
thing
say-
with me. I'm sorry. The same thing with me. I tried 4 of them. They made more money than I did. I thought, this is crazy. And they left me with the problems, Nelda. I thought, forget about it. Like, I started off doing it myself, and I did very well. And then I tried the other people, and they were a disaster. So I took it back, and I don't need another property manager. I can do it all myself, especially now. Everything's online, makes it really easy. Like, everything's easy now.
And,
You
and at least you know the work's being done, you know the
Oh, yeah.
work is getting done, and yeah, you don't have to worry about people screwing you over.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like
Yes.
I am very fortunate that I've got a good property manager in BC, but if I was here, or if it was here, I would do the management myself, just because
Oh, yeah.
having control of your property is huge.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
self-manage and have a good handyman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Have a good team, right? I mean, someone who mows the lawn, a
Team is
handyman, contractors. I have my furnace guy, an air conditioning guy, same guy goes around to all the properties if I need it. Yeah, for sure. You have, these are contractors, right? They're not employees. You don't need employees. You know,
No.
not, especially now with the paperwork. I do everything online.
Excellent.
Everything. everything.
Final,
Absolutely.
final words of advice. Final words of advice to somebody who wants to go into short-term rentals. What would you say to kind of in a
Okay,
nutshell?
first of all, find a mentor who's done it before. I mean, that's the one thing that I did when I started. I found a mentor who was doing it for a number of years, and I was listening to them, and I was reading about it because they had books about how to start a bed and breakfast. You can get that, and then find a mentor who's been doing it for a number of years that can guide you along. And do take their advice because they've learned through experience what goes on. And that's equally true, Nelda, for long and short-term rentals. Like, find a mentor, find a coach, whatever it is, whoever it is that will help you along. And I did that with the long-term rentals, and I did that with the short-term rentals. And now I'll do for anything else that I go into. I find someone who knows much more than I do, and they will guide and hold my hand and do a lot of research. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos to learn a lot of things. You know, there's so much free education out there. Plus, take Nelda's courses, guys.
And
Or
actually,
take mine, right? But this is her show. I'm her guest.
and absolutely know the local legislation.
Oh, that's number one. Don't even get started. Just go and find out if you're allowed to, and then make sure they send you the paperwork by email, like, you know, it's stating that you will be able to run a short-term rental. And which part of the city you can run it, because some cities like Niagara Falls, you can only run it in certain areas.
Yeah.
And if you want to rezone, it costs you over $10,000. Like, who wants to do that, right? So before you even buy the property, find out everything, and then move along with it. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. You have been a terrific wealth of information.
This has been quite fun.
Are you still singing?
Not at all. Are you still singing, Nelda?
Oh, I'm not singing either.
No. When I started real estate, like I think I had my last concert in maybe 2004, 2005. And after that, I said no, because I didn't have the strength. If you're really serious about real estate, you don't have the strength to sing. It takes so much energy. As you know, real estate takes so much energy out of us. No.
And so
Although
performance, yeah.
I still play some guitar once in a while.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, you have one musician in the house, Nelda.
One musician, and that's Nelda. If you ever heard her sing, you would feel chills up the back of your spine.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure I feel the same way about you, Maria, because I'd love to. Oh, I'll go back and look at your Christmas recording. I was looking through your.
Okay,
so-
wonderful. And if you have a recording, send it to me via Messenger. I'd love to listen to it.
I
One
digress.
to another.
Yeah, we started talking about real estate, and we launched into classical singing, and so here we are. Anyway, if you liked this session, like us on Facebook, which is the Real Estate Investment Resource Network.
Mhm.
You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Nelda Schulte. You can find me on Twitter at Nelda Helps Me. And if you'd like access to free landlording and investor resources and our courses, you can go to my website, which is www.neldaschulte.com, and click the membership button. There's free membership, and then there are courses that are very reasonably priced. Or you could go and visit Maria's website, which is www.realwealthrealestate.com.
So
Thank you, guests, for joining us. Thank you once again, Maria. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you in person.
This was a real treat.
Yes.
thank you very much. Wonderful meeting both of you. Thank you. I love Westerners. I love Westerners.
You are one at heart.
Well, I
Yeah.
actually am a Ontario boy from way back, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, guests, for joining us. And thank you for your questions. You can always get in touch with us afterwards.
Sure, anytime. Happy to.
On our Facebook group, so, keep in touch. We'd love to help you out.
Okay.
Good
Thank you.
night,
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye
Bye.
now.
Bye now. Bye.